Hello, everyone, and welcome to Magicians Without Borders Conversations, episode 43. We're so glad that you're here with us now or listening later to the podcast. We're going to do our second part of our friends from India, our recording with Dhananjay and Kalyani. That's great, and we're going to talk about something called learning beyond. But before we do, as always, I want to remind you that we've got something that you can support us with. You can spread the voice if you are part of a remote team, you manage a remote team, or your company is in a remote environment. We have developed a great corporate magic show for virtual events and online meetings. It's a great way to enhance your people's well-being in this virtual environment. So you can find more information going to corporate.magicianswithoutborders.com. You can see what we do and the clients that we've had, but I want to show you a little bit about what it's like. Hello, my name is Carlos López from Magicians Without Borders, and this is where we create our virtual magic show. We would love to have you. We have multiple cameras where we can see magic different ways, even one for close-up. Let me take you there, and here you can see magic that's going to happen very close in front of your screen, and we would love to have you here with us. We've done this show over the last year for great companies like Waymo, YouTube, Google, and we would love to have you. We can deliver this show via Zoom, via Google Meet, Microsoft Teams, or WebEx, or any other communication platform. Looking forward to seeing you at the show. Bye-bye. So that's a great way that you can support us. And remember that the last Wednesday of every month, we have our mailbag episode. That means that we will get to answer your questions and comments. So please send them to our email podcast@magicianswithoutborders.com or tweet them at magicianswb. We would love to hear from you. You can suggest subjects or shows or magicians or stuff that you want us to talk about, or if you want more information on our chapters, you can definitely ask that. So before we bring on Kalyani and Dhananjay, let's welcome Tom Verner so he can tell us a little bit more about why India is so important to us. Hey, Tom, how are you?
I'm very good, Carlos. Very good. It's a beautiful day up here in Vermont, and I'm happy to be here. I just wanted to say something about the mailbag, a theme that's sort of been running through the episodes, especially when we were talking with Michael Wald, and it was even there a little bit with Dhananjay and Kalyani because of the mentoring aspect of their organization, Our Children, how they mentor these kids who live in orphanages. That if anybody who's listening to the podcast, if you have any mentor stories, like how a mentor was important in your life, or thoughts about mentoring, we're going to be over the next few weeks, that theme of mentoring is going to come back into these conversations, and it's just feeling like a very important aspect of the work that Magicians Without Borders does. So I see someone from India or who's visiting, I know, in the United States, Meena. Hello, and Ram, who is one of the founders of Our Children. Welcome, Meena and Ram. So if you have any stories of mentoring, either your experience as a mentor or being mentored, we would really love to hear them. So
Yes, awesome. I think that's a great subject, and yeah, we've touched on it in a couple of episodes, and we're looking forward to touching on that subject a little bit more, and maybe through a film that we were trying to get that together,
Yeah,
discussing a film. I think that would be wonderful. And so, before we go to Kalyani and Dhananjay to continue our
yeah.
story, can you tell us, Tom, a little bit why India is so important to you, and how you wanted to capture that, and you did in a wonderful film yourself?
Yeah, there's uh, I think part of how India has become so important is because of the organization Our Children, that we really um, it's one of the countries where we have the strongest um, collaborative relationship with an NGO in the country, and Our Children is an extraordinary one. And it's been so supportive to Magicians Without Borders. And I think, as Kalyani and Dhananjay said last week, and we'll hear again this week, we also have contributed to their work. And the topic that we're going to be talking about this week with Dhananjay and Kalyani is Learning Beyond, a camp that Our Children and Magicians Without Borders created together. And it was really inspired by the campamentos that we created in El Salvador. And we've done weekend camps in Colombia. And we created this camp called Learning Beyond, and it has really grown. And it was, like I said, inspired by work we did, and Dhananjay and Ram and Kalyani and others from Our Children heard us talking about it, and they were doing these one-day wonderful things at the beach. And we at Oxa Beach, a beautiful, beautiful place. But we talked about doing something a little longer, and where we would really teach magic and juggling and theater and art and all kinds of creative activities where children could really find, as we say at Learning Beyond, that fire inside of themselves, that individuality.
I'm
So
so eager to hear that from you and Kalyani and Dhananjay on that recording. But before we go there, you want to talk a little bit more about Jadoo and what that is, and why?
yeah, we could show this film. I mean, it was really meant to be a film to introduce people to Magicians Without Borders, but it was filmed, and most of the images, I'd say 90% of the images, are in India, live. A filmmaker traveled with us, Dominic, and you'll hear a tabla player, Marcus Wise, playing in the background sometimes. So a lot of it was filmed in India, and our work with Our Children. And it's a little bit dated. It was just, as you'll see, when we were beginning teaching groups now that we have around the world. And we had just started doing this in El Salvador, as you'll hear us say in the movie. And Jadoo means magic in Hindi, and Jadugar is a magician, and that's where the title comes from. I love the word Jadoo, and I sometimes get called Uncle Jadoo in.
Nice.
So,
let's have a look and
okay.
and we'll discuss a little bit, and then we'll bring on Kalyani and Dhananjay. So
Okay.
here's Jadu, our first year's teaching. Here it is.
Okay.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, like that. And 1, 2, 3.
Houdini once said, when I escape from my impossible situation, I think I inspire hope that the impossible is possible. My name is Tom Verner, and I'm a magician. 7 or 8 years ago, I started an organization called Magicians Without Borders. I started Magicians Without Borders because I think magic is a wonderful way of bringing joy and happiness and hope to refugee and orphan children around the world. And they tend to be many of the most forgotten.
Tom has such a wonderful gift with people, but children in particular, because he knows how to connect with them.
I think a really wonderful part of this work is the fact that I get to do it together with my wife, Janet.
My stage name is La Fleur. A big part of what I do is before the show. I go out and do silly handshakes and improvise, and play with the kids, and they're kind of warmed up.
We do 3 things. We have the shows we do in refugee camps and orphanages, 25 countries, Somalia, Ethiopia, Sudan, all the countries of the former Yugoslavia, Thailand after the tsunami, Burma, and an Afghan refugee camp on the Iran-Afghan border. We were asked to create a magic show to teach refugee children about HIV. And we did that show for 150,000 refugees in West Africa. So the third thing we're doing is now going regularly to El Salvador, and we're working with a group of kids there, training them to become magicians.
A lot of the people that we perform for have very little. Many of them have lost their homes, lost a limb, and they've got a lot of reason to, I think, despair that they can never have what they've lost again. I really do believe that laughter heals.
Magic in a wild way is sort of filled with metaphors of hope. You take a rope, you cut it in half, and you put it back together again. We take a piece of paper and tear it into many pieces, and it comes back into this 40-foot streamer of color. The folks we perform for, their lives seem very impossible to them. I try to inspire them to look at magic as something other than just tricks or just amusement and amazement, but that it can awaken a sense of hope that all of a sudden the impossible seems possible.
Ready, 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 ready. Okay, 1, 2, 3.
So I feel that we're citizen diplomats, and that feels like a very important thing to do in the world at this time.
Magic is a universal language. I don't speak Burmese, I don't speak Hindi or Arabic, but I do speak magic. And all children around the world speak magic. They all get it. Magicians only do three things, whether they're Chinese, Indian, African, European, South American. They make things appear, they make things disappear, and they make things change. They do it in 1,000 different ways. But magic is universal, and everyone understands it. I don't have to say a word.
I am a pilgrim and a stranger, traveling through this worrisome land. And I've got a home in that yonder city, and it's not, good Lord, it's not made by hand. I got a mother, sister, and a brother.
Such a wonderful film, Tom. It's such a wonderful film.
It packs a lot into 6 minutes. It's good.
Yes, and I think it really conveys the message of the spirit of the education chapters that we now have, right? How that discovery that magic is a universal language, and then you can transfer that to somebody else that can have that power to generate wonder and awe. I think it's great. And I think it's the perfect segue to talk a little bit more about the camps that you did in India. So anything you want to add before we bring them on?
Well, I just wanted to say a little thing about Jadoo, the film. What you don't know just from watching it is that some of those shows were scheduled, like in orphanages or schools, or for children of commercial sex workers, that one in the beginning. But some of those shows, like the very opening one where I'm doing those coins across thing, that Verner routine, that was a spontaneous show. They were just all guys who were selling things on the street, and they just came together, and we ended up doing a show. And there's another couple. Those women who are that I pull the flowers out of their ears and that sort of. That was just a group of people who I stopped, and we started doing a show for them. So, what's wonderful about India is it seems that people are very willing to be entertained and to stop, and there's always people around to do magic for. So that's another reason I really love being there. As far as learning beyond, I forget exactly what Dhananjay, and are we going to show that little movie again about learning beyond? Yeah. Okay, great. Let's
introduce everything. They're gonna talk. You guys talked about everything, and then we showed the videos explaining it. Just try to summarize learning beyond, Tom. How would you summarize learning beyond in 2 words?
Can I use 4 words? Learning and laughing in a beautiful, safe place. 5 words. 5 words.
Awesome. So we're gonna get to learn a little bit more about that with this recording that we did a couple of weeks ago. So please enjoy, and we'll be back to wrap this up. Okay, Tom. So here
I will be here. Learning beyond.
Yeah.
Wow. How many learning beyonds have there been?
We started in 2014. That was our first one. And if you recollect, we were sitting here and having a cup of coffee, and then I was talking to you about your program in El Salvador. I think you were conducting some program. And then we talked that why can't we have the similar kind of program here? And then we worked out detail, and then we approached different resource people like theater, and I think you talked to our friend from Afghanistan, and also from Zach. That was the
Zach.
first
Exactly.
Zach. Yeah. And then we started the program with in 2014 with about Tom.
Part of the inspiration for me was not just what we call campamento in El Salvador, but Carlos, something our children does, which is really an amazing operation. They deal with so many folks, like the mega children's meet dance competition. They also, at the end of the year, I think that was in May, you would bring every institution to a place called Oxa Beach. Was that in May, June?
May, immediately after our first May program.
Yeah. And it was just such we had started working with the girls and boys initially at Prerna, and this wonderful organization that's trying to, deal with second generation sexual trafficking. And our children would bring a busload of kids from an orphanage to Oxa Beach, and we would be there with the kids from Prerna, and these kids would stay for about a 24-hour time period, and then they would go, another bus would arrive and they'd go back on that. Is that how it worked? I mean,
Absolutely right.
yeah. And so it was just a perfect kind of magic teaching situation where the magician students were there and a new audience arrived every day. And so we'd be working on a trick and we'd walk up the trail to, usually at 11 o'clock in the morning before lunch. And we would do a magic show for the children and then go back to where we were learning and teaching magic and talk about what worked and what didn't work and what mistakes they made or what they did really well and work on it. And then we'd have another audience, the next day to practice and to integrate the feedback. It was just perfect. I've never had a teaching situation like we did at Oxa Beach. And besides it being a perfect teaching situation, it was right on the water in this amazing garden, like about a 50-acre garden, flowers and beach,
trees and beautiful.
and trees and bungalows and trails through the. It was just amazing. And then, unfortunately, the man who was running the place, it was originally a place for nurses, right, to get some R&R. This man's father had set it up. Johnson, what was his name? Khan?
Rashid Talyar Khan.
Yeah. And he had set it up for nurses to come there and just get some rest and relaxation. It was a wonderful, wonderful place. And then our children developed a relationship. And then he died, and the family, I guess it just got complicated, and that wasn't happening. But that was part of the inspiration for me of Learning Beyond, to somehow offer what we were offering to the girls at Prerna to 100 children, and then of course to 50 children. But then, of course, Dhananjay wanted it to be 100 children, and now 300 children over 3 weeks, which is just fantastic. It's great. So that's the beginning of Learning Beyond. So what is Learning Beyond? How would you guys describe it? How would you describe it, Kalyani?
Well, Learning Beyond was I would describe it as a magical, magical moments for the children, where they where they discovered their inner self. They got an opportunity to do things which they or learn things or be exposed to things which they didn't do in their in their daily life, and they got to learn they got to learn something which they had never heard or maybe seen before. And it was like it was like very exciting for them that they could master something like some a magic trick they could master, or they could do juggling, and it would give them such a sense of achievement, of confidence, which did wonders to them.
Yeah.
So for these children residing in childcare institutions, only thing they had was studies. Beyond that there was nothing. So this name, that's how it came up. Learning beyond. That means it's something. There's nothing. There's no learning. It's beyond your normal education thing. That's what the whole idea was behind starting learning beyond. And in learning beyond, the idea of learning beyond was not to make them a big magician or a big mime artist. So that was not the idea. Idea is to entertain them, to educate them, and to empower them. And we feel that this goal is, to some extent, is already achieved in last 5 or 6 years that we are having learning beyond. Like, demand has gone up so much to learning beyond that now this request is coming up from different places to organize such camps. I think Tom visited in Gujarat after our last camp, if you remember, and that was a very, very good experience for all of us. The children were so excited; they had never seen such kind of a programs ever. So we had a wonderful time there, and then now requests are coming from different places from India. India, as you know, is a very large country. From Orissa, Calcutta, different places requests are coming. So Tom, you be prepared for conducting many more such events.
Yeah, the one in Gujarat, I really hope we do that again. If we do it in Kolkata or somewhere else, that's all right. But definitely Gujarat. I know you have a wonderful personal connection to Gujarat. But Carlos, this bus, we got off the train and got on a bus, and we took the bus, and the roads kept getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And finally, we were going down what felt like a walking trail in the bus, and we couldn't go any further. And the bus stopped. And then up the road came these children with masks, and they made masks for us and threw color all over us, and it was just amazing. And we had a wonderful week there with these children. It was tell me again what that place was.
Sarvodaya. Institute name is Sarvodaya.
And what is the mission of that particular organization?
They work with it's a ashram sala where children they may be having parents also, but they don't have educational facility. So there are a lot of children, they on a Gandhian principle they try to work there.
Yeah, because there were schools there, or they would come from other schools that didn't have. Yeah.
Yeah. So I wanna put a video on that illustrates a little bit more about Learn Beyond, and then we'll try and find some pictures of that. Okay. Let me know if this is the video.
Oh yeah. illuminated by some headlights.
It looks wonderful. It looks wonderful, and look, I think these are some pictures from there. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
So when you envisioned this, what was the reality versus expectations of when you envisioned it and when you actually did it? And that can be for Dhananjay or Kalyani.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, when we envisioned it, we did have some concerns as to about the facilities at the camp. They were very, very basic, like sleeping in bamboo huts, and maybe there'd be some rats and frogs along, jumping around. And there was no hot water. There were no geysers, there was no hot water, and it could be a little cold in October, November. It tended to be a little cold in the morning. Food, we were a little worried about the food, whether it would be too spicy, too oily, and also about about communicating. Would the children be able to understand and to be able to follow? These were our concerns.
Okay.
But after concerns, when the programs got over, we found that children were so excited. Tom, do you remember how girls were crying at the end of the program last day for going back each year? They used to cry like they didn't want to go back, and they were just crying away.
Yeah, I mean the kids. I think like Kalyani was saying in the beginning, that I think they two things really happened. What Dhananjay just said, they just connected with each other, and they got to leave the institution and spend 5 or 6 days in a beautiful and safe place where they could walk around and feel free and safe. And the place, it was basic in terms of certain things, but again, it was a really beautiful place, especially the Merrily, that place. The food was delicious, and there was always enough of it, and the kids amazed me. They could eat a mountain of rice. These children who weigh about 40 pounds, they eat 20 pounds of rice. It's just amazing. And the food was terrific. But they really became closer to other children. They made new friends. They had a chance to spend time with their old friends in a new place. But the big thing, I think, was what Kalyani said, was often the first magic class, there was always a couple of students who couldn't even open their mouth. They couldn't even say something, let alone they couldn't even say their name hardly. They were so shy and so scared. And by the end of the week, they're doing a magic trick and telling a story and standing up in front of people. I think it changed some of those kids' lives.
There was amazing, the difference at the end of the camp, how confident and how they could perform in front of a large audience. It was amazing. It's just the word that I use is amazing. The way the confidence that they got in themselves, that was most important.
Yeah.
After they went back to the respective organizations.
Oh yeah.
What we used to do, we could invite not a large number from each place. Suppose there are 100 children at one place, we could invite only 5 or 6 or so. So the remaining 95 boys or girls didn't get chance to see this. So they used to show what they learned And then even when some visitors coming or a guest coming to their place, they used to show magic or juggling, and all the donors of those respective places or the management team of those institutions were very, very impressed by this. And it was they all around the year this program used to go on. In fact, we also gave them we had a slacklining program last year, so we donated slacklining to them. Then now they are trying, so it goes on around the year as well. Like completely, they're starting a miming classes, which we started. Even Malcolm, which we have seen here. So a lot of institutions have taken clue from that, and they run this thing around the year, which is a very, very positive thing which has come out of it.
Yeah.
Wow,
One or
that's very
two,
good.
some of them have also become a professional, like Priyanka. Tom, you remember, she could perform magic as a professional also, and could earn some little bit money also by performing such things. So there are other things which came out of this learning beyond camp.
Yeah, that's very good.
I
That's very
forgot.
good.
I forgot the what you reminded me of, Dhananjay, that not
Priyanka,
only did they have a good experience during those 5 or 6 days,
yes,
but when they went back to their respective institutions, there
yes,
was a kind of increased sense of being leaders. You know,
yes,
whether it was entertaining for donors or putting on
yes,
little shows, or yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
another, you know, uh, aspect or benefit of learning beyond. Yeah.
And it's
yeah,
inspired the other children. I mean, there were other children who wanted to come for the camp. So they all now, after hearing from them, after seeing what the children do, what their friends are doing, many children are inspired to come for the camp, and they all want really beg the teachers that we want to go, we want to go.
Yeah. And,
in fact, there
and
will always be a competition amongst them to come for the camp. Like some of the children, then they could influence their people who were selecting, and twice or thrice they used to come, and other children were not getting opportunities. That also used to happen sometimes in some
yeah,
places.
it became an inspiration for kids to do, because some institution says you can't go unless you do really well in school or unless you do this or that. So
Yeah.
kids, I think it inspired some kids to do better, so they would get chosen next year to go to.
Yeah.
I used to feel so sad and relieved, as I have to say, when I'd see that picture that's up there on the screen of the taxis leaving.
Yeah.
I both felt sad and because they were very intense learning beyond weeks. You were working from early morning till late at night, and but it was sad seeing the kids were sad. We were sad to see that the back of that taxi leaving.
If I ask you, Kalyani and Dhananjay, what do you think that this does for India? What would you answer?
What I would say, I mean, like we as an NGO, we are in a small way, we are touching a few lives, and but we hope that these children, when they grow up, they will be empowered to help others to come out of difficult situations, and hopefully it will grow more.
Awesome, thank you. How about you, Dhananjay? What do you think this kind of programs do for India?
Actually, I mean, we have been, this program has been helping a lot to children, because one thing that they never had experienced this kind of programs ever. And so wherever we had gone, we were welcomed with open arms, including the management of all these institutions who conduct these programs, and we've given best of the facilities. In long run, I think this is going to help to empower these children to the amount of confidence we find that after the program, they're attending the program, they get, as Tom rightly mentioned, that when they come for the first time, they're even hesitant to speak out. And at the end, just for 3 days, they come out with performing 15 minutes magic. In fact, our friends who had visited this our Learning Beyond program was telling me that in high-end schools in Mumbai, the children would not learn these kind of things in 1 month, and they just learn in 5 hours time whatever has been taught, and they perform also. So it was a very encouraging thing for us that our children are doing so well, and maybe this would take them ahead in life also. And they can do well in life, and then they can come back and give to the society again. That's what we are aiming at.
I think that what Dhananjay said in the beginning, and I have to say, at first, I wasn't so keen about the name Learning Beyond. Somehow it didn't connect with me initially, But when I saw it in action, it really was learning beyond. It was learning beyond at least in two ways. It was learning beyond maybe the way ordinary education goes in India and goes in the United States for that matter. Like people sit there and they have to do reading, writing, and arithmetic and blah, 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 like that. But playing, quote unquote, you don't learn by playing. Well, that's how children learn in many ways. They learn. That's work. That's their work, to play seriously. And I think they go beyond the regular way education is done. But if you could put that picture, those last pictures that you had, and that candle, we've come up with, Kalyani and I have a little routine that we do at the opening of Learning Beyond. And it, in some ways, is summed up by those two little candles there, that we really talk about this fire that's inside of each of those children. And the fire can go out if they say, oh, I can't do that, or I'm not as good as so-and-so, or I'll never be able to, all those negative voices will put that fire out. But what Learning Beyond does is not only lights that fire in some children where there is no fire, but it really kindles that fire and makes it grow brighter. And I think, it probably doesn't touch every child who's there, but if we have 100 children and 10 of them are really inspired, and it changes some way they think about themselves, that to me is a really big deal, and you're never going to touch everybody. But I think in the Jewish book, the Talmud, it says if you save one life, you've saved the world in some way, and I think our children does that every day, and Learning Beyond is just one of the programs that they do that, changes the lives of these children. And in the movie, I love that you included weddings, that the people from our children, Dhananjay and Kalyani and Ram and Ravi, and they are often principals at the weddings of these children. That's who they want at their wedding. They want these people who have been there with them since they were 3 years old, and now they're 25 years old and getting married. And that's a testament to how important our children is, that at this weddings, as you probably know, Carlos, are very, very magnificent events. Even a poor wedding in India is a magnificent event. And it's one of the biggest days of a person's life, and they want Dhananjay and Kalyani and there.
I think that
To take this forward, we have a group home where girls completing over 18 years, they have to move out of these institutions where they're residing. And so they had a lot of time they had a problem as to where do I go now? I've completed 18, and where do I go? I don't have anyone else to go. We started a concept of a group home where about 5 or 6 girls stay together as a family. And condition is that she should be an orphan. That means she should be without father or mother, and she should be working because they have to their day-to-day expenses. They collect money and they spend it, so they should be working. And we encourage them to study as well. So this is one person has sold their house at in suburbs of Mumbai, eastern suburb, and one in the western suburb. So there are currently about 11 girls are residing in this 2 group home, and requests are coming up to increase. In fact, maybe once this lockdown opens up, we may open one more group home. Maybe number will go up to 18 if we increase for this group home. Now, when they reach age of 20, 21, 22, 23, then when they want to get married, normally here in India, there's a concept of a kanyadan. There's a ritual called kanyadan. That means parents they give their daughter to the son-in-law. That's what the ritual is. So for the, almost I think 7 to 8 girls, they wanted us to perform their kanyadan for ceremony as their parents. And it was our we were fortunate that we could perform kanyadan for these about 7 to 8 girls during all these years. It was wonderful feeling with that.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. So we've talked about the work that you do, and we see the impact that it has not only on directly on the children that attend, but on a bigger scale on their communities, their families, and the place where they live, and how important that is for India. So how can people, if somebody that's listening wants to support our children, how can they do that?
So support, like how do we reach out to them? Basically, we are low profile organization. Our aim is to focus on a smaller group, not to enlarge in a very large way, but to do a concentrated work. That's what we have been doing. And our donors are known by over a period of time. Like one donor this year, then they are donor for permanently. Like for 35 years, some of the donors are donating for our program. And we reach out to them. They are not very active on social media, but that is what probably we need to do. And maybe first we need to learn from you as to how to go about increasing our presence on this type of social media, and then maybe we can reach out to more people, and it could have a more impact on different classes. Similar things could be started in here as well.
Yeah, so if anybody that's listening and wants to support our children, you can get in touch with us. We'll get you in touch with Dhananjay and Kalyani and figure out a way that you can support them. So this has been wonderful. I've learned a lot. I loved seeing all those different connections and how the programs that you three and others have been involved in, and to see them grow and to see them continue. It's just wonderful. I wanted to end with a question that we ask all of our guests. You can answer it first, Kalyani, and then Dhananjay. So do you think, Kalyani, that you are a different person because of the social work you do? And if so, in what way?
Yes, definitely. It gives me a lot of satisfaction. It gives me satisfaction that if I can reach out to somebody, it's personally, I always feel that we are selfish because it gives us pleasure. We do these things, and it gives me immense satisfaction. And by touching lives, it helps me to be maybe a better person. It helps me to value what I have.
Very powerful. Thank you for sharing. How about you, Dhananjay? Do you think you're a different person because of the social work that you do? And if so, in what way?
First thing, Carlos, what I would like to say is that I would not call this as whatever I'm doing. I would not like to call it as social work. I think it is our social responsibility. I don't think I'm doing social work at all. I'm trying to fulfill my responsibility toward the society, what I have got from the society, and so I feel what I've gained much more by doing all these programs than what I could possibly have given. Like I've got wonderful friends like Tom. It's only because of our activities in our children. That's how we came in. So I consider myself to be fortunate to get this kind of opportunity to work with so many people, so many children. So I have to thank God for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you for sharing. And Tom, any last words you want to say before we wrap this up?
When Dhananjay was just talking, and saying it's not so much what it's done for him, but it's a responsibility, and I was reminded of something Greta Thunberg, that young teenager from Scandinavia, who I heard her say the other day, I don't want you to feel hopeful. I want you to panic that the world is burning up. I want you to feel responsible for the world. I don't want you to feel hopeful. I want you to, and it was very strong what she said. And I think I feel inspired by Dhananjay and Kalyani and the work that our children does, and I love being part of it. And what they said about always feeling like I get more than I give. I know that's kind of a cliche, but it's really, really true. That doing this work, people say, "Oh, you're such a hero," and you go here. And it's just not like that. It's not like my experience of it is. What a privilege to do this, and it gives me so much. And I'm so grateful to you two, and for all the things, the way you welcome me, the way you work me, which I love. And thank you very, very much for all these fantastic years. And is there any chance that there might be a Learning Beyond this year? Probably not, huh?
We don't know. We have to wait and see. Hopefully we can do it, but let's see. We'll do it. Yeah.
When do you think you might be able to make it's the problem with this damn pandemic is the uncertainty, That's been the word all year. Oh, well, you can't plan because
you don't know.
The pandemic has a mind of its own.
Yeah.
But I promise you, if I have nothing planned for Diwali on, because I hope to come to India. And if it happens, I'll be there with bells on. Okay.
And Tom, if the flights open up, I will try to visit towards this month end. If the flights open up, then I would also like to come.
When might that be? You mean again when it opens up?
This month end, maybe this month end, June month end.
Fantastic. Okay.
And my family will be visiting your place also. About 15 or 20 of them will be coming there.
Okay.
To your,
All right.
Cool.
We'll start making food.
Sure.
Okay.
Hey, this has been wonderful. Thank you, Kalyani and Dhananjay, for this time. It was amazing to hear the stories from you, and your work is very inspiring. And I mean, we're happy that Magicians Without Borders is, in this great partnership with you. And we hope that this partnership continues on for a long, long time.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
Very
you.
good. Thank you.
Bye
Bye
bye.
bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you, Carlos.
Such a great conversation, Tom. Such a great conversation. Are you still making the food for them?
I forgot all about that. That he said maybe the end of June, and that's very soon. But that would be. I just love those people, and it's amazing the work they do and what we do together. And there's Mina again, saying how much she enjoyed watching Dhananjay and Kalyani, and so I really, really do hope it made me homesick for India and for learning beyond. And if it happens, we'll do it. So it's one of the great partnerships that Magicians Without Borders has, and we've just done so much work together in India over these 20 years, and I hope to get back there as soon as possible.
I'm pretty sure you miss it a lot. And me, never being there and hearing those wonderful stories, I'm also very eager to get there. So hopefully we'll get there next time you go. And I also wanted to reiterate how important this partnership is for us, and that this is something that really does. You really see a transformation in the kids that we work with, and that's awesome. And well, if you want to keep supporting this work, that you can go to our webpage, magicianswithoutborders.com, and then there you will find a donate now button that you can then select any amount that you can support us with. Any and all are support that we greatly appreciate. So if you're thinking about supporting someone or some organization during this time, please do consider us. We think we do a great job, and you've seen the results here with Kalyani and Dhananjay. So any last words on this conversation with our friends?
I was just having a fantasy that we've always had a juggling class at Learning Beyond, and I know a juggler who lives in Bogota, I think. Do you know? And I think if the pandemic allows it, and if you feel safe, and we can get you a vaccine, if that'll help, it would be a delight to go together. Oh my God.
And yes, it would be so much fun.
Yeah.
That's going to happen. If it doesn't happen this year, it will happen. Definitely. And well, I'm also looking forward to it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this has been another. I can't tell you how happy and sort of how sad I got listening to that interview again. Sad because maybe I won't get there for a while, but like you just said, if not this year, again,
It will happen. It will happen. Thank you, Tom, so much for being here with us. Thank you, everybody, for joining us and or listening later to the podcast. Please do send your comments and questions. We'd love to hear from you. And well, have a great day.
Good night. Thank you again for listening.
Bye-bye.